firstly, congratulations on becoming a member of the Two Timers Club. All the way back in episode 36, you made your debut, and here we are 90 odd episodes later and you're back. We won't retread too much old ground, but for those who don't know you, just a quick overview of who you are as a photographer.
Yeah, thanks for having me back. I am a commercial and fine art photographer. I'm in Greenville, South Carolina. Do a lot of mostly portrait work and a lot of like kind of real sort of vulnerable type work, and shoot on film and a lot of digital as well for my commercial work. And right now I'm kind of pressing hard into the fine art market and trying to push in that direction.
Well, my big initial grab with you, the part of your work that grabbed me so much was I believe your first book, The Coat Project.
Mm-hmm.
And
yeah, that was the first one.
And so, I mean, I guess because we're going to be talking a little bit about your new book, just in general, do you feel like having a project like a book, something that has a bit of a deadline to it, helps sort of push your creativity and helps you improve as a photographer as much as just being able to freely shoot?
Yeah, I think it does. It helps me it sort of gives me a direction, which I kind of need for my work. And I think a lot of my work is sort of narrative based. So it's like one shoot doesn't really cover what I'm going for as often. So usually it's like the whole series makes a lot more sense. And a lot of my work is kind of, I would consider it fine art, but it's not as much like, wall art type stuff. Like people might not put it up. So as a book, it really works well as it's like a good delivery system for the type of work I do.
And when you say about like having multiple images in order to get across the narrative that you're trying to put out, is that something that when you're making something like a book is quite hard to do? Because I already have trouble selecting images when I don't really have any particular purpose other than for my portfolio. I imagine for making a book, it must be really hard to sort of cast some images out that you might have a huge connection with, but they just don't fit in with the book.
Yeah, it's definitely been a challenge, especially because like with this new one, I'm shooting the whole thing on film, but I'm shooting some digital to kind of like get my lighting right and things like that, because I can only afford so much film for that camera. And I've had shots that like work, like they work really well in digital, and for some odd reason they don't work on film. And there's been definitely stuff I've had to get rid of. But yeah, it's tough. I don't know. I like that process though. Like I enjoy it. I'm not a super sentimental person, so I am in my personal life, but in my work, like I can get rid of an image if I know why and I like it. Like I can still be like, nah, I'm not going to use that.
Well, that's a madly underrated skill, because I'm someone that gets way too attached to certain images and usually hold on to stuff far beyond its expiration date. Yeah. I guess we just need to start outlining your new book, this new project. So tell us a little bit about your inspiration for Skin.
It was kind of a process that led me to it, but I did the Coat Project last year, which was like all these people, and it wasn't really about covering up, but it was, a coat is a covering, so it was sort of an underlying theme of it. So this year, COVID hit. I think it was right after me and you talked, and I was just looking for something. Like there was nothing happening. COVID was, shutting down everything, and I just needed some kind of something to put my brain power into. So, and I had talked to a lot of people that were sort of struggling with body image, and COVID had really changed their, mindset about that. And now they're at home, and, a lot of people gained weight through it. And I just thought, that's going to be an interesting topic that's not as looked at, I don't think, as far as photo projects. At that point in time. So it kind of stemmed from that. And I started talking to people about, I'd never really done nudes before. I had shot some partial nudes for the Coat Project, and I was looking for something new to try, and so it just kind of all fell into that. And to some extent, I like kind of go for it with projects. I don't like think it out to the point of like knowing everything about it before I do it. Like I just kind of go for it. The project sort of starts to take on its own legs, and the theme sort of comes from that. So it was a struggle at the beginning because I wasn't quite sure if it was a good idea or if it was something I could, want to do. But it's really turned into a cool thing, and people have really latched onto it. It's been great.
And how did you go about finding subjects for this? Because obviously I feel like there'd be an enormous amount of trust needed to take some of the images that you've taken. I mean, obviously you have this fantastic body of work previously that people can go to and see how talented you are as a photographer. But how did you go about sourcing the people that would be your subjects?
It sort of evolved through the process, but I've been shooting it for about, I want to say 8 months. It's really hard to tell time this year, but I think it's been about 8 months since I started. Feels like about 3 years, but so I've kind of, I've got a really great like friend group and following that trust me now, and they know like I'm not, like a creepy photographer. So I sort of started out with people that I knew had done like figure modeling, and so the first handful of people like had done nudes before, and like the first person was a friend of mine that had done figure modeling. So I thought that'll, that's like my first real full nude shoot. So like I felt more comfortable with that. And then as it progressed, people really like caught on to what I was doing. And so then I started getting volunteers of people with different body types and different, different skin, trying to think of how to call that, conditions, I guess I would say. And so it just kind of progressed from there. Like as more of those people did it, more people saw it and wanted to be part of it. And by the end, I have a really broad spectrum of people that have done it.
And in terms of the way that you photographed it, like the actual process where you're photographing it, are you constantly thinking about like the bigger picture of how the picture that you're taking right now will communicate what you're doing with regard to all of the other images that you want to take? Or were you taking it on a picture by picture basis?
It's sort of a mood of the day thing. Like sometimes I have a really, sometimes I have the time to think it out and I'll really put a lot of thought into that. Sometimes I just sort of go by feel and let the shoot happen and see what comes of it. But I did try to have the book in mind when I was shooting. So I was, like with that 4x5 camera, I try not to crop a lot. So like I was thinking out through that and like trying to get different poses from people and just, I was really mainly just pushing the like vulnerability of the images and like not letting it be too posed or thought out. I think a project like this works well for me because I'm not really a thinker on a shoot. Like I really kind of go with what's feeling right and see what works and like kind of collaborate with the person. And I feel like a book project like this works well with that to like not be too, you shoot 60 people, like there's only so many different poses you could do if you really like tried to like think pose before every shot. So I just kind of feel it out.
And there's definitely a parallel, not to sound like I'm too deep with this kind of thing, because I'm definitely not a very high IQ person, but there's definitely a parallel between having a book or a set of images essentially showing the vast range of the human body in terms of, like you mentioned, sort of like imperfections and the differences in the way people look and the things that aren't often highlighted, I guess, by photographic mediums, that those imperfections mixed with the imperfections of film photography, specifically in like the developing section of the process. Is that something that was like an artistic choice, that you would have the imperfections of the film be as much a part of the sort of DNA of the project as much as the imperfections of the person?
I feel like that's a really high IQ question, actually. It's so funny because I didn't have that in mind. I really just, when I started with the film, I thought I just really wanted to do a full project with film. I feel like that's like a challenge for myself. And honestly, it's weird that you asked me that because I woke up this morning and I'm like, what if Kris asked me why I'm shooting film? And I thought it does sort of parallel that, and like it gives it that organicness, and I think it sort of pushes even further the fact that those things that are usually hidden and like retouched over, fixed, can be like a beautiful part of the project. So I do feel like it like runs a parallel for sure.
In terms of the gear that you were using to create this, I mean, you've obviously got this wonderful large format camera. Do you want to just take us through the camera, the lens, just roughly your setup? Are you using natural light? Are you using studio lights? What are you doing to make these images?
Sure. So it's a really simple setup. Like I try to keep it pretty simple. I have a studio in like 100-year-old. It used to be a textile mill, and it just has these big, beautiful windows. So I set up kind of next to it. I just let it side light. I put in a negative fill to kind of keep it from reflecting too much. And so I just keep it really simple with that, a white background. I have four props, 3 boxes that are like these plain white boxes that are sort of beat up. And then this stool that looks like it's like 200 years old. It's all rusty and messed up. That's the only thing in the shot other than the people. And then as far as the camera, I'm shooting a Calumet 4x5, and it's got a 180 lens on it, which is like, I think, a full frame digital equivalent of like a 60.
Okay.
So just kind of a nice standard lens. And then I'm shooting Ilford HP5 for everything. And I started out developing with HC110, and then because of COVID, I think a lot of people started home developing, and then now it's like sold out everywhere. And I moved to D76 because it was just a little easier to get. But that's the whole setup. Like, there's really not much to it. Like, I don't do any lighting. I just kind of let the light of the day happen. So sometimes it's a little harder than others, and sometimes it's like super soft. And so that's about it. It's pretty simple.
What was it that led you to select HP5 specifically? I mean, obviously you've got a lot of options at the medium format and the 35mm level, but I have no idea when you get to 4x5 how many options there really are for a 400 speed black and white.
Yeah, there's not many. I think probably if I looked at it, if you don't count student film, which I usually like won't shoot that, even though it's probably the same thing as the other stuff. But sorry, Ilford. But so you really only have like 5 choices. Kodak's a little more expensive, so I sort of avoid it because it just gets pricey. And I need something fast enough because the natural light in there, I actually have to push it to 800 speed almost all the time. And then every once in a while I have to push it to 1600. So I have to have like a little bit higher speed. So really it was just kind of, there's only like 2 options for that. But I do like it because it's sort of flatter. And so I'm able to scan and then add my contrast after the fact. And I sort of like to have that control.
I mean, overall, when you're looking at the images that you've produced over this 8 months that felt like 3 years, do you really feel like you got way more than you expected to get from it in terms of the final images that could have made the book? Or do you feel like there are parts of it where you were quite frustrated that you didn't quite get what you wanted?
It's been interesting. There's been a mix. I've gotten something on every shoot. Like, I felt good about it. And, you know, with this subject matter, like, every image doesn't have to be like a frameable fine art image. You know, some of them can just have a lighter message. And so I feel like I've gotten something from every shoot. And I actually feel like now I've shot about, I think I'll end up shooting 600 negatives, which doesn't sound like a lot, but most shoots are 6 to 10. Mm-hmm. And so I've done about 60 people, which is a lot more than I originally had planned. But yeah, I feel like I got something strong from everybody. Everybody's really come in like open to it. And I feel like that's the big key, is like that, not so much the, you know, like if people come in, they get the project, they understand what I'm going for, like everything else goes smoothly.
Do you feel like when you've spoken to the subjects that you've had in, that they've taken something from the experience of doing the shoot? Is it something that's helped them perhaps with an issue that they've had, or they've just found it to be an interesting change of pace? It's confidence building, you know, is there been positives come from it from the subjects? Yeah,
actually, I've been really excited the last few days because I sent out an email right before I did the Kickstarter announcement to all the people that are in the book. And I just said, you know, if you want to send like a little story about how you felt about it or how you feel about your body or doing nudity or anything like that, like send me it and I'll try to find a use for it, either in the book or, you know, during the promotion stuff. And I've gotten some really cool stories from people, you know, who have dealt with things for years with their body and they've never revealed it to anybody and they've held it in. And this book, you know, let them kind of release that and kind of move on from it. And so it's been really cool to hear that. So I'm hoping to start sharing some of those stories here soon.
I mean, we'll get to the Kickstarter shortly. With the process though, with this project, it feels like you have basically, you've not to make you get too big headed here, but you certainly have seemed to have done everything involved. You know, you obviously had the inception of the idea, you were shooting stuff, you've done the developing and the selection process. Is it integral for you to be that involved? Was that a very important part of you doing this as a project?
Yeah, I like to have my hands on all of it. I mean, I definitely have had help. Like, there's definitely been a lot of people behind the scenes helping me. My girlfriend's done like a ton of stuff to help, and I had, the video I did for Kickstarter had 5 or 6 people involved to get that done. But yeah, as far as the main, like, people have offered to help me with the film development because that's sort of a full-time job right now, and I just feel like I want to do all that start to finish. I just want the images to like be 100% for me. I don't know if that's a good trait or a bad trait, but it just feels right. So, but as far as the book goes, like, it's a little different, but the project itself, like I do want to try to do all of it.
I mean, is it something where you feel like you've done the Coat project last year and Skin this year? And obviously I'm not trying to put too much pressure on you to come up with a new idea every 5 minutes, but is it something where you feel like you're going to have sort of a bit of a continuing desire to make these projects and make these books? And I guess the second part of that question would be, do you feel like they all have to link in some way? Because obviously you mentioned the Coat project being about kind of not being about, but in some way being about being covered, and then Skin being sort of the opposite of that. If you were to continue, would you want each sort of following project to have some kind of link back, or would it be something where you'd be quite happy to completely break free and do something different?
I'm kind of trying to figure that out right now, honestly, because I've got some ideas for what I want to do next, and I'm trying to decide. I think my instinct tells me it's time to change and do something different. But at the same time, I think the running thread will not be, like the relationship from the Coat project to the Skin project is real, but I think the next one probably won't have that connection. But I think the thing that I will keep in there is I think people have really connected with the fact that these 2 books can kind of involve anybody. Like the subject matter could be anybody. And I think that's been a big benefit to it. So I think I'll try to keep that as part of the theme, but maybe not, it might not relate to the Skin project, whatever I do next.
And, do you feel like having, are you someone that feels like they have to have a deadline or some kind of project to work up to actually be able to go through the gears? Because like you said, you're not really a thinker on shoots in the same like sort of incredibly analytical way. Is there a danger, and I certainly would say it would be for me, that you can kind of start to coast through work because, it's job after job and you're not looking at an end sort of project deadline. Whereas having this kind of thing where you have a book or anything like that, you feel like you have to build up towards something, and it can actually kind of shake you up and wake you up a little bit of what you're doing.
Yeah, I do think it helps. I mean, sometimes it's not a book. Sometimes it's like a show. Like I have an exhibit coming up in February that is more single image. Like it's not as much about a specific series. So I think anything like that helps me to kind of have some sort of end goal. And I just like the bigger picture idea. Like, I don't know, single images I like, and I shoot single image. I do shoots where there's not a specific theme, and I love that. But yeah, I need that motivation of like an end project. And I like all this like stuff with having to promote it, and like I like all that too. So it kind of helps to have that. It sort of all comes together in that way.
When it comes to how it's ended up, you now have, because this is coming out, I think it's February, it starts shipping. Now you have a good idea physically what this looks like as a project. How much does it relate to what you thought it would look like when you first come up with the idea, and how much evolution has there been to what you've been doing?
Oh God. It's completely different. I think I really struggled with it at the beginning, to be honest. Like I started the idea and I just thought like Greenville's a pretty conservative place in some ways. Like, I mean, my friend group is not, but I know like in general, Greenville can be. And so I thought, they're going to ask me to leave town and just tell me to move somewhere else. So, but honestly, it's not been like that at all. I've had so much support for it. And I think that evolved because at first I was just like, is this a bad idea? Like, is anybody going to buy this book? But now I feel really confident about it. And like, it's really, I think the message got clearer the longer I worked on it. And, people started to really see what I was doing, and that it wasn't just, I mean, there's nothing wrong with like a, fine art nude book that's about beauty, but I think they saw that it wasn't just about that. It's like a bigger subject.
And obviously you've been involved in every part of the process up to the book part.
Mm-hmm.
Which part has been the hardest for you, or which one surprised you with the difficulty?
There's been a few interesting things. It didn't end up being difficult, but one of the funny shoots was one of my really close friends, Will, a great local photographer here that I really respect. But he came in for it, and like we hang out all the time. So I'm just like, is this going to be really weird? It was the only shoot where I was like, is this going to be weird to like, be around? But it ended up being, it was totally fine. Like he got the subject, he got what we were going for. So that part wasn't weird. I think the most difficult part, honestly, has just been more the like promotion. Kickstarter is new to me. Developing the film has been a lot more than I thought it would be. Like 600 negatives is a lot of developing. Like I think I figured out the other day that it's like probably going to take, 2 40-hour weeks straight just to develop all that film. So like that part,
wow,
I didn't really consider at the time. So like that's an interest, and then I have to scan it all. So then it's like all these extra processes I didn't have for the Cope project.
Now you've mentioned Kickstarter, and obviously one of the great things about the 21st century is the fact that, publishing has become a lot more democratized. People can see through their own artistic side of things without being kind of guided by people that are trying to make it as commercially viable as possible. It's more about your artistic impression, and then you go out and you find your audience through something like Kickstarter. I get the impression, and I obviously only know you from 2 conversations in person, by which I mean over the phone, and then the rest of it's been through messages on Instagram. Sure. But I get the impression you're not someone that's big on sort of self-advertising and self-promoting. So how much of a difficulty is it for you to put yourself out there and sort of celebrate yourself in this kind of way?
It's not my favorite thing to do, for sure. I like obviously like getting feedback from people, and like I like that part of it, but I'm not like a big advertiser. I see most of my promotion as like making friends, and then my friends kind of help me promote it, and that's worked really well for something like this, because I don't need a huge audience. I don't need 10,000 people to buy this book. I need like 100 people. That's a little easier for me to like build an audience for it and have a more concentrated following, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And it's sort of grown on its own, which has been nice. Like the Cope project sort of kicked it off, and now people have really started to like follow the work and be excited about it. So it's sort of taken its own legs a little bit.
Well, it's been quite exciting because since I had you on episode 36, you've been a recurring name with portrait photographers who I've spoken to about coming onto the podcast, and then they've come on the podcast. They've then, after having been on an episode themselves, they go back and they listen to a few episodes previously, and your episode comes up very, very often, and your work comes up very often. The Cope project comes up very often. So it's been really interesting and really exciting to see. And one thing I will say that's obviously not going to be known by other people because it's something that's happened in messages, and there's no coercion here. This is something that you're probably going to be annoyed that I bring up. But there's very few people at all that have ever helped me out as much when it comes to me annoying you. God knows what time it is for you, because I'm all the way over here in Europe, and I'll message you about the most stupid stuff that I should be able to figure out myself. But someone in your position, you're much more intelligent than me when it comes to this stuff. So you help me out pretty much constantly since we spoke many months back. So you're an incredibly selfless person when it comes to dishing out the really helpful free advice. I guess when it comes to a book like this, or when it comes to a project like this, let's say someone else wants to go out and kind of be inspired by what you've done and create their own book. What advice would you give them, having gone through the process a couple of times, in terms of, things to avoid, things to enjoy? What obviously having 600 million films to develop isn't the most exciting part of it, I imagine. But what advice would you give to people that are looking to do this themselves?
Interesting. I hadn't thought about that. I don't know. Maybe I think that probably the same advice I give when people say they want to start shooting 4x5. And I think that is like, don't let people tell you it's going to be super difficult. I feel like people put the spin on it and they want it to seem like this impossible task, and it's not that hard. Like the hard part is really just having the energy to put into it and like sticking to it and figuring all that out. Like it's not technically that difficult, but then I think find a good source for the book. Like I am very lucky because my friend Craig owns a big print company here in Greenville, and he prints my book for me, and that is a big help. So like if you can find a good source for that, like that takes so much pressure off. And then just learn how to use. So for the code project, I had to like learn how to use InDesign in about a week. So like learn how to use InDesign in more than a week because it sucks. It's not easy. It's not as straightforward as Photoshop. I think like that, and just watch your budget. You know, things like that are really all there is to it. It's honestly more just like are you willing to put the, you know, blood and sweat into it?
And now that you have put the blood and sweat into it, obviously the images look incredible, and the video for the Kickstarter was fantastic. You've already mentioned that as well. I've made my pledge. I'm looking forward to receiving my copy. But I think not so much as a case of us kind of pushing a book. I'm not going to go down the Jimmy Fallon route of trying to, well, firstly, because I don't laugh at every joke that isn't funny, but not to go down the Jimmy Fallon route of pushing this onto people. But I know a lot of people personally, and I know a lot of people through the podcast who are big fans of photo books. And obviously I really feel like your work is, well, obviously, because I've put my money where my mouth is, and it's something I'm really looking forward to receiving. Let's talk about this Kickstarter. You know, it's all available through your Instagram, right? They can go to a link on your Instagram and or from your website and find the link to the Kickstarter. When it came to putting together that video where you talked about the project, how difficult is that for someone who's used to being behind the camera to be in front of it and then to talk about the project?
It was real difficult. It was really hard. So I actually started out in video before I got into photography. So the technical part of that wasn't too bad. Like I know how to shoot well enough to like, you know, make something. It's not going to be like film festival winner, but like I can get it shot and I can do the sound. So that part wasn't too bad, but like the recording it and talking about the project was super difficult. I actually shot it once with my friend Evan, and it came out okay, but I felt like I didn't know the project well enough at that point. I like stopped when actually half the sound cut out. So then I had to throw all that away. And then my girlfriend Danny helped, and we reshot it. And we just really like thought out each part of the project better, so it made more sense, and it was more, you know, like a deeper meaning and not so much about just the technique and stuff. So it took a lot of work. That was a hard thing. I think you have these projects in your head, and like it makes sense to you, and it feels very deep inside your head. You know, like it has a lot of meaning to you, but it's really hard to translate that and get that out to other people. And I still watch that video, and I'm not quite sure it's all there, but I think it was good enough to like make sense of it.
I think it's great. And I like the fact that the aesthetic of the video matches obviously the aesthetic of the book. It's not like it's, you know, really juxtaposed and so on. I think the most important thing here is that we talk about the book itself, and I want to kind of push as many people in your direction, because all the time that I'm seeing photographers that I love being supported, that makes me happy. And in this day and age, being happy is an extremely rare commodity. So
for sure,
let's push some people towards this Kickstarter. There's obviously levels to the Kickstarter, and I'm relatively new to how all of this stuff works. And obviously, I think it jumps from like a soft cover to a hard cover. Would that be right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So what's the varying levels that we've got on the Kickstarter?
Well, it's interesting because, you know, the Code project, I did a soft cover, and it's sort of like a cardstock. It's not like a paper cover, but I guess, yeah. But this time I really wanted to do something a little more like high end looking. And so I talked to Craig that has the print company, and I decided I was going to offer like a limited supply of these hardcovers. And then at the last second, I was like, well, maybe I shouldn't limit those. And now those have been the big sellers. So that's, I think honestly, the book's going to be more that, like that'll be the actual book I thought it would be. I don't know if that makes any sense. But yeah, so I think I have like 5 or 6 options, but I'm doing like an early supporter thing where you get it on sale if you buy it before this Saturday. And then after that, the book's going to be like, there'll be the standard copy, which is like a 9x12 soft cover. It's a really nicely like printed book. And then I'm doing an 11x14, like big coffee table book. And Craig found me this really cool material for the cover, which I'm working on getting a sample of. And it's going to have like an debossed logo on the front and 50 more pages. I just think it's going to be really nice. Like, I'm really excited to see those in print. It's going to be more what I am going for.
It's really exciting. I think it's a really fantastic project. And I'll be honest, the one thing that I'm not a big fan of is having to wait until February, because I'm essentially like a child. And the second I see something that I want, I have to have it immediately, or I throw a bit of a tantrum. But yeah, I think everyone needs to head over to have a look immediately. What I'm also going to ask, if it's okay with you, I'd like to stick the video for the promotion for your Kickstarter at the end of the video on YouTube, where I also put the podcast, just as an extra place for people to see it. So let's just send people in the right direction. Let's link them up. Which is the best way for them to find your Kickstarter? Because I did not pay attention to the URL when I was submitting my purchase.
The one thing with the Kickstarter, like, is like the URL ends up really long. Right. I don't have it memorized, but probably the easiest way is the link tree on my Instagram account. But I also have a page on my website that sends people to it. So those two are probably the easiest, eliwarren.com or at Eli Warren Photo on Instagram.
It's going to be an awesome project. I can't wait to receive the book. Once we're done here, I need to talk to you about potentially getting hold of some other things, including your Coat Project book and a couple of prints potentially. So we'll do that off air, but I'm just showing how much of an interest I have in your phenomenal photography. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us.
Yeah, absolutely. Anytime. I love doing this. Good talking to you.
But hold on. We're not done just yet. As a little bit of a surprise for Eli and a bonus for this podcast, I approached Sunnie McCain, one of the wonderful subjects who does appear in Eli's upcoming book, to talk about what it was like to be part of the project. So let's take a listen. Well, I guess the first thing that jumps out to me is how about Eli went about approaching you with this project? How did he first sort of broach the idea with you about you being included in such a big project?
Well, so that is an interesting question, because actually his girlfriend was supporting his project and posted something on her social media about how he was looking for models for an upcoming project. And I saw it and thought in my scroll, and was just like, fuck yes, I'm just going to go for this. I read through everything and just submitted my name and phone number to her and was like, I'm sure he has tons of people that are wanting to do this, but if he needs a subject, like I, for a personal reason, am very interested in doing this. And so just kind of left it at that. And a little time later, I think about a month later, she reached out and said, hey, I just want to let you know he's getting ready to email models to come in to be able to do this. So just anticipate his email. And that's how we got connected. So really, it was kind of like a roll call that I jumped in on. That I was just really excited about and didn't know if it was going to happen or not, or what. Once I read through what she was putting out there, his intention of the book, it really hit home for me as something that I just wanted to do personally for myself.
And obviously, with it being such a personal thing for you, was there a point where you had any kind of nerves or apprehension about doing it after that initial buzz of wanting to do it? Were you ever kind of then suddenly thinking, oh, what have I got myself into?
Ooh, that's a good question. I think it probably crossed my mind for a split second once I wrote him back after getting his formal email of the project and the how-tos and what it was going to be all about and what he was looking for. Of maybe just like a little bit of nerves of excitement, but not hesitation or reservation about actually going through with it and being a part of it. No, I was committed for sure.
And then the actual shoot itself, what was the process like for you? Was it quite nerve-wracking? Did you just kind of enjoy the whole flow of it? And what was it like having someone like Eli directing you?
Oh yeah. So the part that I appreciated about it, I went in asking the questions of, okay, like this is your thing. So you just tell me what to do. That's kind of, my mentality of where we started the conversation. He's like, actually, what I want is like to your comfort level. Everybody's unique and different of what they want to put out there. So it seemed to me in the way that he was careful and open with who was coming in to model for him, that he actually opened it back up to me and was like, what are you comfortable with? What do you want to do? I could tell you to do a pose, but if that's not comfortable for you, then, it's not gonna, neither one of us are going to feel it and the emotions aren't going to come out in the picture. And so he really gave me the floor to be able to, he was like, here are a few things to use, do whatever you want and move around however you want. If you have ideas, I think everybody has like a thing that they, hopefully feel comfortable and confident in as their uniqueness or their body. So that was really, that was empowering to me to be like, okay, cool. Like, I know that I really love moving my body in this particular way. And, I like to do yoga and I've grown up in sports and dancing. So I'm very aware of my body. So I was able to do the things that I knew would just convey me more. And that was extremely comfortable. There wasn't somebody telling me to do something that I wouldn't have been comfortable doing or maybe would have been comfortable doing. And so we'd try some things and I'd move around and be like, oh yeah, right there. Okay, don't move. Okay, that's it. So the flow was actually really great. We kind of got to play around and that was wonderful. He wasn't looking for a particular thing, but a thing that he would have seen when he saw it. And so it played out really well.
I mean, you used the word empowering there. And I think that's something that's really important to Eli with this particular project. For those that are complete sociopaths and don't quite get it, or for those that perhaps just maybe are coming from a more conservative point of view in their own respects, in what way did you find it empowering?
So I personally, I have red hair and freckles and my name is Sunnie. I grew up in America with Jennifers and Kristens and I was born in the 80s and everybody had tan skin. I lived in Florida and I always felt just so awkward and left out, in certain ways. And Lord knows every kid is made fun of for their own quirks and, body types or whatever it is. And I definitely was made fun of forever for my freckles. And I was empowered to see a photographer's vision of what my body looks like to them and my skin looks like to them. And when he gave me the freedom to be able to move or pose or just be present how I felt comfortable, I'm 36. I feel great in my body and who I am and confident with who I am. I think that's like the beauty of the 30s. I really do truly believe that at that time, like you're most empowered and like hopefully like you've gotten to a place in life where like, who you are and you know your strengths and again, for me, it was, I grew up constantly moving my body. And so I was able to honestly in my head, I was like, oh, okay, this is like being at home and doing yoga in my house like I normally do. I put on music or my boyfriend plays drums or guitar to music and I'll just dance around the living room and do yoga. And that's really just what I did, except I was in his studio and naked for photos. But that was my comfort place. And I really, in my mind was like, where's your comfort place? Like, don't go into this not sure of who you are. You know who you are. So go to that happy place where you feel good about moving your body. The only difference is it's less clothing and it's somebody is going to actually like see your beauty too and find ways to enhance that, or enhance in the sense of capture it, right? And again, for me, that was awesome. He was not like, oh my God, no, don't do that. And he didn't laugh and we had a good time. And, I just got to move around and the points to be like, there, just hold that. That's good. And that really made me feel a whole lot more comfortable for the place that I was in my head too.
And then obviously moving on to the final product, when did you first get to see the images that had worked for Eli that he was going to go forward with, and what was your initial sort of reaction?
So I've only seen 2 photos, and I think it was just a few weeks ago, maybe, that he posted one, and I like freaked out. I was so excited. I was so excited to see that. I was so excited to see the black and white contrast of what my skin looks like and the freckles, because they're dark. I'm a redhead with fair skin who loves the sun. Like, I was always out in it. So I have really dark freckles from head to toe, and it just looks so stunning in his photos. I have, and I've been looking at everybody else's. I can't get enough of his work. Actually, like, when he walked me around his studio when we were finished, I went back and looked at his previous project, the coat project, and just like kept DMing him like, oh my God, I love this one. Oh my God, this is beautiful. Oh my God. Like, his work is phenomenal, right? Like, it's so good. Yeah. And so I've just been obsessed ever since. Like, I've only seen 2 of mine, but I have just not gotten enough of everything that I have seen that he's got on social media, and the few prints that he's shown for, promoting the book and his Kickstarter right now. So I am so looking forward to being able to get that book in my hands. So I don't really know what they all look like. And I think that's even more exciting, that he hasn't been like, okay, and here are all your photos. It doesn't give you that time to dissect them and go over them and second guess yourself. Like, you just get to fully put the power in the creative's hands and let him do right by you.
100%. And you mentioned earlier about coming into this for your own personal reasons. And I think probably every subject that put themselves forward would have come into it for their own personal reasons. But the most important question really is, did you get out of it what you expected to? And do you feel like it was a completely fulfilling experience?
Fuck yes. Like that. I absolutely was so tickled and excited. It fulfilled everything that I went into it for. I am not a model. I am not like, out doing photo shoots or anything. So it wasn't something where I was like, oh, I got this. It was just, I've got my mission. And if we can do that together, and this checks off 2 of these boxes, which was feel empowered and do something you've never done before with a professional, putting their work out there. And then to also have this new view of myself and what that does for me. Again, being able to see somebody capture you in what they see, and then accepting that, having to look at it and accept yourself and go, that is me. I didn't take the picture. I didn't take a selfie. I didn't get to critique it or fix it or, have a different angle because I like this better. Like it really, if you're looking at it the right way, I think it can give you a peace and of acceptance of, yeah, that's me. That's absolutely who I am. So yeah, I'm so thrilled with it. It definitely marked off the boxes for me. And, he sent an email, just checking with everybody, make sure they're good with whatever is shown. I'm like, yeah. Like, let's do it. Like, if you're going to do it, don't second guess, like, who might see it or who might not see it and all that. Like, just go with it. It's awesome. It's so awesome. I can't wait. Just can't wait. I can't wait to have the book for sure.
Well, something you just mentioned there is quite an interesting thought, really, because quite often, especially I'm 32 and obviously younger generations than me have had phones in their hand pretty much their whole lives. And they've been so used to being the person that photographs themselves the most, and they've got control over what goes out. They get control over what everyone sees, and everything now is edited to death. So no one ever really knows what anyone else really looks like. How was that experience in the sense of giving up that power of your own image? Because obviously you're handing it over to someone that's going to interpret you in a completely different way than you would.
Yeah, that I had those thoughts going into it because he definitely asked, I think he's extremely thoughtful and gave people the permission to also guide him on like, hey, I don't like this certain part of my body, or there's, I'll absolutely do this, but I don't want to show this area, or here's something that I feel insecure about. Please don't, have like a close up of that or whatever. And I thought through that, and I had a moment where, exactly what you said, where I was like, okay, I know some of the things that I don't like about myself, but like, then I'm taking control out of, I'm putting the control back in my hands, which is not what the intention was. And just to have that thought process and then be aware of how silly it is and go, this is who the fuck you are. Every day you walk around and everybody sees this face, and you wear a bathing suit and they see that body. So let go and don't be so insecure about the few little things that, you may not like and like try and hide from the world. They fucking see it. Everybody sees it. No, I don't walk around naked every day for everybody, but it's still like, I'm not a very modest person. Lord, my household can tell you that, but like, I'm very free and open. So yeah, I actually love that you asked that. It's making me smile. When that moment crossed my mind, I was like, no, don't do that. Just let it roll. Like that I feel like that was a very empowering moment too, of like conquering that little like need or knee-jerk reaction to be like, oh yeah, thanks for asking. I don't like this part about my face or whatever. Like, it felt really good to be like, no, carry on. I don't want to tell you what I may or may not like. It's just how would I be able to see what he could see? That's really what I was interested in, is what he was going to capture. Because I didn't know anything about Eli's art until after his girlfriend posted that, and I started looking. I'm like, oh hell yes! Like, could you be in better hands? So let the man do his job, and you just do what he told you to do, which is move around, be free, enjoy it, and we'll capture some photos.
So I actually interviewed Eli about 24 hours ago. And then obviously now, without him knowing, we're doing this super secretive quick chat about your experience. And at the time that we're recording, the Kickstarter campaign for the book is $80 off of being complete. So that will be complete probably in the next, it'll be all sorted in probably the next 24 hours, hopefully. If not already, this podcast will push a couple of people to push it even higher. How does it feel to be someone that is definitely going to be in a book that's going out to multiple continents, let alone just some people in America? It's actually going to Europe for sure, because I've got my copy coming. How does that feel?
You just put that thought in my head. I'm very like short-sighted. I was like, yeah, cool. We did that. That's fun. Yeah, it's going to be out there. But like the capacity to which you just exposed my brain to, I did not think about, haven't thought about. So like, yeah, that's pretty cool. I don't have the words for that. I think that's awesome. I love that. I love that my daddy taught me long ago that like, say yes to some things, say yes to things that get you out of your bubble. And like, I definitely started living that like when I stepped into my 30s and just had like a lot of life changes going on where I was like, all right, the things that I've limited myself in for feeling insecure about or uncomfortable or like, oh, surely I couldn't be a part of that, or I couldn't do, this, that, or the other. We all have those thoughts about something that we feel like maybe we just would be better off not messing with it, because surely there's somebody else that's better for it. I really made a life goal to say yes to things. And in doing that, you just get to be part of some cool experiences that you have no idea what unfolds. And typically from just having that habit and being aware of the things that I could say yes to and being a part of some things that I wouldn't normally do, I have made connections and friendships and, just had life experiences that, as small as they are, or maybe not like huge achievements, they still create a journey in my life that I never would have had before, or people I never would have met. So it's definitely fulfilling. It's definitely fulfilling. And I'm tickled that the book is going to be all over the place because I didn't really think about that.
Eli's awesome. The book looks absolutely amazing. You're awesome. Thank you so much for taking the time to chat with me.
Oh, so fun. Thank you. I appreciate it. I'm excited. Thank you so much.
Always on the high, you were always on my mind, dear Wichita. The tales we were told swore they'd never grow old here in Wichita. We were down by the river all through the night, watching the stars and the city lights. Right from the start, said we never grow apart, dear Wichita. You wanted me to know, never ever let you go, dear Wichita. Surrounded by colors, it's such a sight, watching all the lovers fall into the night. All the moods in a heartbeat, we're going back where it all began. The same ground under our feet, starts to shake me through all we can. Winter turned to spring, I remember everything from Wichita. This town is on its knees, you know God is overseas, I'm telling ya. Oh, it's more to this than what you see. You know this town's got the best of me. Are we sure it's the last time? Sure that this is the last time. Oh, we were down by the river all through the night, watching the stars and the city lights. And all the moods in a heartbeat, we're going back where it all began. The same ground under our feet, starts to shake me through all we can. But we're caught in a landslide, so we stay up to the morning light. The tales we were told, we would never grow old here in Wichita.
Welcome to my Kickstarter for my new book, Skin, a brutally honest and unapologetic series of fine art nude photographs. This project spans a spectrum of body types, genders, and skin colors. With this book, I wanted to celebrate real skin that's scarred and wrinkled and textured, and have photos that aren't glamorous or retouched and just raw and vulnerable. Last year, I created a book called The Coat Project. It was a series of 72 people wearing or interacting with the same coat. And so this year I thought it'd be interesting to juxtapose that and show people as vulnerable and uncovered. I'm Eli Warren, a commercial and fine art photographer in Greenville, South Carolina. My work focuses on gritty and poignant images, and I like to infuse some mistakes into the process, drawing marks, different ways of developing, and I like those to really be a signature of my work. For this project, I'm shooting the entire thing on an antique large format camera, and I'm hand developing all the negatives myself. And for the set, I kept it very simple with a white background, window light. And I just really wanted to keep the focus on the subject and the subject matter. I think a really interesting part of this series will be right now with COVID and quarantine and so much in the news about inequality, to see 50 people be very brave and come together and celebrate themselves despite things that they might feel self-conscious about. I just think that's a really beautiful part of this project. It's just been a huge honor for people to like trust me and reach out and want to be part of this. Thank you for supporting this project. I've put a lot of myself into it, and I'm just really excited to share it with you.